Good morning, everyone. It's Brenda Quintana, and I am live this morning here from the Beehive, my stamping studio. And if you're watching this on YouTube, this will not be live, but I'm so glad that you're watching the recording, if you're watching the recording, and I'm getting ready to show you how to stamp a card. I'm just going to wait just a little bit so I get some people on here for the live portion. So if you want to skip forward just a little bit to see the stamping, you can. Good morning, everyone that's joining. So glad to have you here. So I've been away for about 2 weeks. I was on the Stampin' Up! Incentive trip to Alaska, and it was wonderful. I got to see so many friends, and we saw Alaska, which I have never seen before. We went whale watching. We went on a fabulous glacier hike. We went down a fjord with a glacier at the end of it. So we got to see the glacier calving its little icebergs off into the ocean. It was really spectacular. Then we also did a couple of other things while we were on this trip. It was a really big trip. Our son is going into senior year of high school this year, and so when we stopped off in Victoria, British Columbia, we stopped off to see the University of Victoria, and we are dual citizens. Well, I'm not dual, but my son is a dual citizen of Canada and the US, and so he's likely to go to school in Canada. So we stopped off there, and then when we got back to Seattle, we drove up to Vancouver and we saw the University of British Columbia, and so it was like a college tour trip as well. And then we drove to my hometown of Kelowna, British Columbia, and we stopped in to spend time with my parents, my sister, and my nephews. And it was all fabulous. It was like a whirlwind trip, I tell you. I got back, and the day we flew back, our flight was delayed, and we got back really late, and we were pretty exhausted for the first few days, but I'm getting back into the swing of things this week, and I'm trying to get all caught up so that I can show you some of the new things that I have done with this Blended Seasons bundle. This bundle is a limited time bundle that's only available this August, and so I'm going to be showcasing it this week. You'll see more blog posts on it Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and today I'm kicking off using it with our Casing Tuesday challenge. So be sure to check back later this week for more more blog posts on this particular bundle. So today is Casing Tuesday, and that's when we take a card out of the catalog and we give it a makeover. Sometimes we copy it exactly. I try rarely to do that because I like the challenge of changing things around. But if you're a beginner and you have the stamp set that the card is made with, then it's a great idea to copy it. Or if you have a similar stamp set, you can kind of copy it that way. And it's just a great way to, for me, it's a great way to try different types of cards because I tend towards a certain style of card, and this gets me out of my comfort zone. So this challenge is good for new people and for people that have been around for a while. And we have a Facebook group that you are welcome to join. Look in the description of this video if you would like to join that group. And then I'm going to stamp my card, and if you have any questions along the way, please feel free to ask. I go back at the end and I answer them. So let's get started stamping. I'm going to turn my camera around now, and I will face it to my work surface so you can see everything better. Just give me a second. There's my gorgeous view out there this morning. We have sunshine. It is hot here in the Boston area. For a change, it's unusually hot. So we're kind of dealing with that. A lot of people don't like the heat up here in Massachusetts. I find it's bearable. Let me
you know, we have air conditioning, so I can't complain too much. So here's the card we are making over this morning. It's got a circular focal point, but you don't have to do a circle necessarily. And it's got this piece of ribbon kind of coming around in a loop, and it's got kind of flowers coming down the side. So you could replace that with whatever you like. This would also be a good card that you could maybe use designer series paper with. So it doesn't actually have to be a hard card. You don't actually have to stamp this, but that is what I did. So I took this card, I stamped the Blended Seasons floral image kind of down the side here, and I used one of the labels that comes with the framelets. They are called the Stitch Seasons framelets. Then I also added a couple little, I don't know what you call them, flourishes from that framelit set as well. So that's basically the card. This is the bundle. It's a big bundle. It's the stamp set comes in 2 cases. You've got like a floral image, a fall image, kind of a holly leaves for Christmas, and then you've got a bell that can be used for different things. We've got these pieces of, I guess, grasses or grain here, and some leaves on the side. And then you've got some really nice greetings, or very pretty Merry Christmas. And sometimes it's hard to find a really nice Merry Christmas, and this one is nice too. I'll show you in a second how I cut mine apart, because it is in 1 row here, but you can cut it apart and then, you know, stack it. So very nice greeting, a very nice thank you as well. And then we have the framelets that match that. These are nesting framelets, and I love that they have stitching on either side of the cut. So when you cut this out, if you're cutting it to leave a window, the window will have a stitch around it. And if you're cutting out a layering piece, it will also have a stitch piece around it. So that is kind of cool. And then we'll be using these 2 flourishes to cut out some gold glimmer paper. So I guess to start off with, let's do the big shotting first. So I'm going to stamp my Merry Christmas first. And here is the Merry Christmas as it normally would be. It's all in a row. Let me grab a block here. So what I did is I cut in between the Merry and the Christmas. I often do this with my stamps because that way you can get different positions on your card. So when I do this, let me just line this up here. I'll put my Christmas here, and I want my Merry kind of straddling it like that. So when you do this, you'll want to test out how it looks before you stamp it on your good paper. So I just have a piece of scrap paper here. We're going to be using Granny Apple Green. I think this is my new favorite green out of all the new greens that have come in. So you'll just want to stamp this and test it out. So here, that looks pretty good. I just wanted to make sure my Merry and Christmas didn't look wonky, like up or down. So if that looks good, then I can come over here. This is my scrap piece of Whisper White. And I'm just going to ink this up and stamp it in the center. And then I have a little scrap piece of gold glimmer paper that I'll need to make some cuts in a moment. Let me just move this out of the way before I end up with a green catastrophe. And I've got my big shot here. I'm just going to put this on a bit of an angle so you can see it. Yes, I usually do my big shotting on the camera, and I know for some of you this is very basic work, but for people that are new, it's always good for you to see it so you understand how things get cut out. So I'm going to be using this framelit right here. I'll just kind of center this over my Merry Christmas, kind of make sure it looks somewhat straight. Then I'm going to be cutting these 2 little flourishes out. When I cut glimmer paper, I like to cut from the back side, so I'm going to flip this over, and I'm just going to add these little pieces. Of course, you want the cut side down, and
let me just add these right onto my gold glimmer piece. If these shift on you, you're going to have to reposition the glimmer paper so that it doesn't fight with the magnets, or that the framelits don't fight with the magnets. Just find a spot on there where they settle nicely. And then you'll just put your cutting plate on top. So my sandwich for this is I've got my magnetic platform, a cutting plate down, my paper, my framelits, and then another cutting plate. And then I'm just going to run this through. And so let me just show you this if you're not familiar with the Blended Seasons bundle. So I'm popping out my label here, and you can see it's got the little stitching around it. But if I was cutting a window, I don't know if you can see that, and it's not focusing very well, but you can also see there's stitching around the window. So that's the really nice thing about these framelits, is that you've got those 2 lines of stitching on either side of the cut line. And then we've got our little tiny little flourishes here. Let me just pop those out. See, aren't those cute? And then just move those off to the side. Put that away. No longer need the big shot. And then I'm going to come back in with my scrap piece of paper. And we're going to stamp now the main part, the background floral piece. So I've got a piece of plain Whisper White here, and this piece measures 4 inches by 5 1/4 inches. And I'm going to stamp my florals in a light color, so it kind of obliterates the lines of the stamping just a little bit when you color it. So that's why I like to use a lighter color. Sometimes I do want the black lines to definitely delineate my image, but if you use a lighter color, it gives it a nice little it fades into the background, so to speak. I've got this big floral image here, and I could have turned this into a summer card, but I thought, you know, we're getting now into, I know, I hate to say it, the Christmas season, but if you're a paper crafter, we have to start well in advance to do our paper crafting for Christmas. So that's why I decided to make this into a Christmas card, but it would be really easy to change this out and turn this into a summer card or a fall card just by changing the colors of the images. So I've kind of got this inked up, and I'm going to bring this bend down here into the corner. We're going to have to stamp this a couple of times to get all the images I need. So that is the first stamp. You have got the 3 flowers coming down like here. I also want flowers coming here and here. So I'll just shift this a little bit. I'm going to just ink up the top part of my stamp. And I'm going to line this up just right along the edge right here. So right now I'm hovering it over, and the edge of my stamp is lined up right with the edge of the line of the stamped image that's already there, and that gives me nice spacing for that bottom flower. And now I'll do the same up here. I'll just ink up this top part of the stamp, and then I'm going to come in and just stamp down like that. So that gives you kind of that swoosh of the flower. Let me put this away before I get ink everywhere. And there are also new watercolor pencils that are available that you can purchase with the Blended Season bundle. I am more of a fan of the Stampin' Blends than the watercolor pencils. I'll have to admit that. So I did get the watercolor pencils, and I did try coloring this with the watercolor pencils, but I wanted really bright intensity, and watercolor pencils don't give you that. So I opted to use Stampin' Blends. So here are the colors that I used. I'm going to be using, we have new Poppy Parade and Granny Apple Green colors, and then also I'm using the Daffodil Delight, the dark one. So those are my colors that I'm going to use to color this. So
when I was on the incentive trip, we had this great, it was like a 2-hour thing where other demonstrators showcase some of the new product from the holiday catalog. These products are all available now, but the reason I'm telling you this is because she was using Stampin' blends, and she was actually a Copic certified instructor, and many of you probably have heard of Copic. They're kind of the industry standard in alcohol markers. And because she was certified, I kind of asked her, I said, hey, like, what do you actually truly think of the Stampin' blends between you and me? And she said she loved them. She said they were great for beginners. She said she really liked the nibs on them and the flow of the ink. And she shared with me, I said, like, okay, so tell me, if you're a beginner, what is the easiest way to color? And I'm going to tell you what I'll show you what she told me, and I'll demonstrate that here right now. But she really liked them. And she said also it's nice because, you know, Copics come in so many different colors. It's so hard to pick. And with the Stampin' Up colors, we know them, you know, we've been using them for a while. We know what color they are. And so it's a really easy way to get into alcohol markers. And so far my experience has been really great with them. So if you're hesitating on them, I'd go ahead and get a few colors and try them out and see, tell me what you think, because I think they are really great coloring tools. So let me take the lightest Poppy Parade and show you how I like to color and what she recommended to color as well. So I'm just going to come along here and I'm going to outline one of the petals. And I'm just going to come in and just kind of fill in as I go. Come in. I like to work on one little piece at a time. And then I'll go back in and fill in. So then I'll come in and I'll do the next leaf, or petal, I should say. And I'm just filling in. And by the way, I'm using the brush tip, but I'm using it on its side. I'm not pressing the point down directly. I'm using it on its side to kind of fill in. So then what she told me to do, the easiest thing for new people for the shading, is you can come back in and you can redo with the same color, come in and bring that in. And then you can do some shading. So I'll just recommend just kind of following along the outside lines and maybe along the bottom. Say your light is coming in from this direction, so you're going to shade over here along this side. I don't know if you can see that really easily, but you can see now that the certain areas are just slightly darker than the other ones. So it makes it really easy to have that kind of look with the light and the dark. So you can also do it you can also add darkness with your darker Stampin' blend. So I have my darker one here, and I'm going to do this with the other petal. I'm going to use the bullet tip though. So you can come along the lines and you can add some darkness, and you can come along here and along the bottom and just add some darkness. Now with that, I like to go back in with my lighter color and use the bullet tip. And I like to kind of just blend out that darkness just a little bit. And I'll come along these lines and blend just a little bit. And blend out that line so it's not quite as dark. So you can see the two petals that I did here. This one I did with two of the colors, the dark and the light, and this one I just did with the light. So this one is a lot easier to do for beginners, and this one's a little bit harder with the two shades. But either way, you'll have a really pretty flower image.
Now you can do the same thing with the green. So I'm going to come in with my Granny Apple Green. I'll do these two leaves that are side by side. And this one I'm going to do with that first technique of just coming in. I'm going to let it dry just a little bit. I'm going to do the second leaf now. Come in. Then I'm going to come back, and with that same lighter color, I'm just going to highlight a bit of the bottom of the leaf and just give it just a little bit of dimension like that. Then I'm going to come in with the bullet on the darker Granny Apple Green and come along the bottom of the leaf and maybe along the vein a little bit. And then come back in with my light Granny Apple and the bullet tip and just kind of blend out that line. I'm just doing small little circles and just kind of blending out that line just a little bit like that. So again, here are the two leaves, one with just the light and one using the dark and the light color. So in the interest of time, this did take a little bit of time to color, but I'm sure like many of you, you like to actually color. So this is something good to stamp and sit in front of the TV with and have fun coloring. Or if you were on vacation like myself, maybe you want to just color while you're on vacation. Oh, one more thing. For the centers, I just came in with the dark and I just hit the centers like that with a little yellow. There wasn't a lot of space to do shading, so I just hit them with a little yellow in the center. So let me move these off to the side and let me find, where is it? Okay, I have it here. So here is my piece that I did earlier, and then you're going to need a card base. So this card base is 11 inches by 4 1/4 inches, and then I scored it in half at the 5 1/2 inch mark, folded it, and then I'm just going to come in. I'll use some Tombow. I hope there's some glue still left in my Tombow. I've been using it a lot, so let me see. Might need to switch. Oh, no, I think we've got a little bit left. Okay. So I'm adding this to the front of my card. Center it. I love this because look how nicely the Poppy Parade Stampin' Blends match with the Poppy Parade cardstock. Always love that color matching there. So now we need these pieces, and we'll also need a piece of this Poppy Parade. It's called Poppy Parade Mini Striped Ribbon. So I'm going to need a piece of that. So just kind of measure it up on your card to see like approximately how much you're going to need to do that loop. I like to give myself a little bit extra just in case you need to extend the loop. So on the back side of this, so this is going to come down from this to this. I'm going to do a line from here to here, and I'll put a little line right next to it. This is Terran tape that I'm using, by the way. It's just a really sticky double-sided tape, and I'll need that for the ribbon. You can't use a light adhesive, and Tombow doesn't really work well if you're trying to stick ribbon. It's not the best adhesive for that. So I'm just going to take off the backing, and today it's being a little stubborn. It's very hot and humid, so you know that makes everything more sticky. There we go. All right, so now I want to make sure I have this loop kind of sitting the way I want it. It's kind of going to be a narrow loop, so So I'll start off up at the top, just kind of get it a little bit the way you want it to go. And then you're going to come in here with your piece and make sure it's the right way around, because that would kind of suck if you stuck it on the wrong way. So then I'm just going to just kind of push this down. I'll check my card base, not too hard yet because I want to make sure this is straight, and that looks pretty good. And then I'll come in down here, just maybe angle cut the ends just a wee bit. That does not look too good. Okay, that's better. And then this one, I'll angle cut this way. All right, and then we need to add these little flourishes on here. So we'll be able to kind of tuck them in, but I'm going to want to put a little bit of Tombow on the back before I do that. Tombow, Tombow. That's not a little bit of Tombow. That is a lot of Tombow. But we'll just kind of come in and tuck this in like that. Let me grab this one. It needs a little Tombow as well, because otherwise it will come off at some point. Huh. On that one I did this way. Let me move this one over here just a bit. Okay. There. And that is the card all done. Where's my original card? So they kind of turned out somewhat similar. I love the intensity of the Poppy Parade. It is a really nice bright red, and I love that. Okay, I'm gonna scroll, before I sit back down, I'm gonna scroll and make sure I didn't have any questions, because it's hard on this little screen to see questions while I am doing this. Oh, everyone's hot and humid today. Ohio, Maryland, everyone's in a hot, humid state today. Yes, it's definitely a hot and humid summer so far. So when we were out in the Pacific Northwest, actually not in Alaska, but in British Columbia and Washington, they had, it was a little hazy from all the smoke that was in the air from the forest fires. And it is really sad. I mean, I think, you know, probably everyone knows forest fires are beneficial to nature and stuff for regrowth. But when they threaten communities and when they rage out of control and a lot of people have trouble breathing, that's not good. When I grew up in BC, we had forest fires, of course, but we didn't have them on the scale that we're seeing them now. So there's hot and humid out here on the East Coast, and then we've got over on the West Coast, they're dealing with a lot of smoke in the air. So I'm sorry, guys, if you're dealing with that. Janine said she ordered the set, and it's coming today. I think you'll really like it. It's a nice general set because you can do different things with it. In particular, I like the nesting framelits. I'm all about geometric shapes and what we can do with them, and I've got a 3D project that I'm going to share with you on Thursday, and so watch for that, because I think that's going to be a fun project for everyone. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and don't forget, if you see anything that you like here today, just click on my link below to my blog post where I have a supply list and I have the measurements for the projects or for the card that I showed today. If you want to join our Casing Tuesday Facebook group, there's also the link to that. This is a neat idea because you can share your card with us too. Take that layout from the catalog, and if you forgot what page it is on, just join the group, and we have a blog post that has the page number and everything, and it has a picture of the card there too if you don't have the catalog handy. And then you can just go ahead and join us, which I think is the great thing about Casing Tuesday, is that it's not just about me, it's about all of you joining in and stamping and learning from that whole process. So that's why I continue to do this. I think we've been doing it, it's been over 2 years, well, it's been almost 3 years. Catalina has been doing it for about 3 years now, and I've been doing it for about 2 years, so it's pretty cool. Anyway, I hope you guys all have a great day. Stay cool out there, and I will be back next week with another Casing Tuesday. I will probably have another few Facebook Lives this week, though. I will announce the times for those on my blog posts and on my Bee Stamping with QB Facebook group. All right, guys, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.